like Larry King Live, Moneyline, and Crossfire. And CNN Headline News takes you around the world in 30 minutes with a continuously updated look at the day's top stories. CNN and CNN Headline News. Whether you watch one or the other or both, we're glad you're watching. And if you aren't, maybe it's time you should.
From Turner Broadcasting System, this is CNN Headline News.
Great legs.
Thank you.
How do you get them?
I used to do aerobics till I dropped. Then I found Thigh Master. Every single time you squeeze Thigh Master, you strengthen and tone right where you need it. So it's easy to squeeze your way to shapely hips and thighs. I thought I'd never fit into these jeans again. Thank you, Thigh Master.
I recommend it and use it.
The secret to shapely thighs is exercising these muscles with just the right resistance. This balanced resistance coil is designed to give you results quickly and comfortably. Want to tone your upper chest and arms? Thigh Master will give you excellent results. Thigh Master. We may not have been born with great legs, but now we can look like we were.
To order your Thigh Master, call 1-800-257-1333. Have your credit card ready or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4.50 for shipping and handling to this address. No CODs, please. If you're not fully satisfied, return it in 30 days for your money back. Plus, if you call right now, we'll also send you Suzanne Slender for Life Plan absolutely free. So call now for quick delivery.
Headline News, I'm Tori Atali. He led his country from communism to capitalism. And now Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev said he will guide the Soviet Union through its probable dissolution. In an interview to be published in next week's Time magazine, Gorbachev dispelled speculation he may soon resign, saying he plans to oversee his nation's breakup step by step. When asked about the recent formation of a Commonwealth, Gorbachev warned the issue should be decided constitutionally and not on the streets. Soviet officials agree Gorbachev and other leaders can help control their country's political chaos.
Is there any place left for Gorbachev? Yes, there is place for everyone today because we have a lot of acute problems facing us today. We need Gorbachev. We need the presidents who are, so to say, in good shape today and working on this process. And maybe we will need Shevardnadze, too.
Russian Republic President Boris Yeltsin is warning his citizens to prepare for another very tough year. Yeltsin predicts the new Commonwealth won't be able to begin stabilizing the ruined economy until this time next year. In yet another sign of financial chaos, the Railways Ministry has stopped selling tickets for travel outside the country because it owes $150 million to other railroads. Secretary of State James Baker says the United States won't become entangled in the Soviet Union's political problems. He left for Moscow tonight on a trip that includes stops in several Soviet Republic capitals. Before leaving, Baker inspected a plane load of clothing and medicine headed for the Soviet Union tomorrow. Some U.S. officials fear the items may not be distributed properly because of the political chaos. But Soviet officials who inspected the humanitarian aid with Baker welcome the effort.
Mr. Secretary, once again, in this history of our relations, we see America show its best quality. The assistance being given to us shall never be forgotten by our people.
Jerry Giordano has more on the people flying the supply missions to the Soviet Union.
The C-5A Galaxy cargo plane disappears into the foggy afternoon sky. The plane is leaving the Westover Air Force Base in Chicopee. It's bound for the Soviet Union. Soon, this cargo bay will be filled with food and medical supplies, an effort to help the Soviets left ravaged in the wake of independence. Also on board this Air Force Reserve crew, they'll be coordinating the effort. Brigadier General Frederick Walker says now the need for that relief is great.
It appears it's the front end of a rather massive effort for humanitarian airlift to the Soviet people.
The relief effort has been spearheaded by Project Hope. Lieutenant Colonel Jay Lachlan is the pilot on board. He says for him, this mission represents a twist of irony.
Back in the 70s, I was in Loring, Maine, the B-52 pilot. The only way I was going to go to Russia then was to go drop nuclear weapons. Just very pleased that when I actually get to go to Russia, I'm going to take humanitarian articles, and that there's no longer a need for nuclear alert.
The C-5A is the only U.S. transport involved in the relief mission. Initial shipments of food are bound for St. Petersburg and Moscow. Other areas targeted include Armenia and some of the Soviet industrial cities. This humanitarian aid flight is the first in a series originating here at Westover. The plane will stop tonight in Dover, Delaware, then it's on to Frankfurt, Germany. And the C-5A cargo plane should arrive in what was once the Soviet Union sometime on Monday. In Chicopee, Massachusetts, Jerry Giordano reporting for CNN.
The Russian Republic is giving former East German leader Erich Honecker until Monday to leave or be expelled. He's staying at the Chilean embassy to avoid being sent home. German officials want him to stand trial for issuing shoot-to-kill orders at the Berlin Wall and other border points. North Korea is offering Honecker at least temporary sanctuary, but not political asylum. His supporters gathered in front of the Chilean embassy today. Germany says Russia has promised Honecker won't escape to a third country. Speculation that two Yugoslavian republics will win international recognition has delayed United Nations plans to send peacekeepers to Yugoslavia. The UN Security Council was expected to vote tonight on a draft resolution calling for the deployment of 10 peace monitors. But the Council postponed the vote after it received a letter from Germany promising to recognize Croatia and Slovenia's independence. In Yugoslavia's Republic of Croatia, the town of Zadar endured a fierce artillery assault by the Yugoslav army today. Croatian television reports the gunfire was aimed at industrial targets. Similar attacks reportedly were launched against other cities across Croatia. In the Republic of Bosnia, at least 4 explosions during the night left several shops and apartments heavily damaged. There were no reports of injuries. In England, no one has claimed responsibility for firebombs, which disrupted holiday shopping for the 3rd consecutive weekend. Authorities say 2 blasts at a major shopping center in London caused extensive damage. There were no injuries. The Irish Republican Army has admitted planting similar devices in shops across England during the last 2 weekends. President Bush and Mexican President Carlos Salinas de Gortari are hoping their negotiators will wrap up a free trade agreement soon. The 2 leaders met at Camp David today and promised the accord would stimulate the economies of all participating countries. The pact would group Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. together in a free trade area. The 2 leaders also discussed ways to fight drugs and search for a solution to illegal immigration. Homeless children in Brazil are facing the brunt of their country's hostility against the poor. But a recent mass shooting and organized protest is finally forcing the government to take action. Marana Mirabella reports.
Under a blazing noonday sun, Maria Madalena mourns the loss of 15-year-old Fernando, the youngest of her 3 children, all murdered in the last 2 years by death squads.
One night, 2 men knocked on my door saying they were police. They took my boys. The next morning, they were found dead.
Like so many other poor children in this country, Maria's sons spent most of their time on the streets. Brazil has an estimated 7 million street children. Their means of survival, begging and stealing, have made them many enemies, and some are taking the law into their own hands. Human rights groups say more than 1,000 children are murdered every year in Brazil. They say most of the killings are done by death squads, off-duty police officers, and security guards hired by shopkeepers and others who consider street children a menace. This is a list of 400 children murdered in Rio de Janeiro in the first 10 months of this year. Most of these murders went unnoticed because the children were poor. But a few weeks ago, all that changed. 7 street children, aged 9 to 17, gathered one night in this shack for a glue-sniffing party. A group of men burst in, tied them up, and dragged them screaming to this riverbank nearby. The children were forced to lie face down and were all shot in the head. But one of them, a 16-year-old girl, survived and identified the alleged killers. These men were arrested and confessed to the murders. They deny being paid assassins, but their motives for the killings are those of death squads. Thousands of impoverished Brazilians have taken to the streets to protest the massacre, demanding that something be done to stop the violence against homeless children. A government commission is calling for tougher laws to protect street children, but human rights groups say this problem will not go away until the Brazilian government does more to get impoverished children off the streets. Marina Mirabella, CNN, Rio de Janeiro.
They may not agree on who should run the country, but they all agree changes need to be made. Democratic candidates met in Florida today to outline their policies for the 1992 presidential race and to criticize Republicans. The 6 major candidates will appear on a nationally televised debate tomorrow and are entered in an informal straw poll of party outsiders. New York Governor Mario Cuomo says his state's unhealthy financial situation may prevent him from entering the 1992 presidential race. But Massachusetts officials say Cuomo will be listed with several other Democrats on the state's presidential primary ballot in March. He was selected under a statute that allows potential candidates to be listed. Time for a pop quiz. What is the Bill of Rights? A majority of Americans flunked the test. It was in the form of a poll by the American Bar Association for tomorrow's 200th anniversary of its ratification. Nearly 30% of the respondents thought the Bill of Rights is the preamble to the Constitution. 22% thought it's any bill dealing with rights, and only a third got it right, that it's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The poll also asked if police should need search warrants in drug cases. 41% said no. An explosion during a training exercise at a National Guard armory in Philadelphia today injured 7 reservists. Authorities say a Claymore mine mistakenly contained a live detonator. It exploded when the reservists activated the mine during a routine weekly drill.
There's an investigation going on right now as to why we had the training accident occur. The training that was being conducted was using inert or non-explosive training aids. And somehow an explosive blasting cap got mixed in amongst the training aids, and we're in the process now of trying to determine how that occurred.
5 of the injured were hospitalized. The Gulf War allowed the U.S. to use a lot of its high-tech weapons in combat for the first time, but the Pentagon is thinking low-tech too. Mark Levinson looks at a new reconnaissance system under development in California.
On the battlefield, it's sometimes impossible to tell what's just over the horizon. Sending human scouts can be time-consuming and dangerous. Spy satellites are expensive, and the data they send back needs lots of computer processing. If only commanders had a cheap, simple way to get a real-time snapshot of what's out there, just beyond their line of sight. Now, researchers at Sandia National Labs are working on a system to do exactly that. This is a prototype of the Video Imaging Projectile, VIP for short. Its eye-in-the-sky package is built into a regular artillery shell.
The basic idea is to use the indigenous artillery pieces that are in the field, howitzers, propellants, trained individuals, and this is a way of taking an additional artillery shell, flying it just like a normal shell, handling it just like a normal shell, but allowing the commander then to have some real-time reconnaissance as to what's over the next hill in his immediate area.
The VIP shell has a window in the side. Behind it, mirrors focus incoming light onto a simple device that senses brightness.
This is a $12 photodiode, and that's really the heart of the system.
Like other artillery shells and bullets, the VIP spins as it flies because of the grooves inside the gun barrel that fired it. As this shell spins at 150 revolutions per second, the little photodiode scans the landscape below over and over again. An antenna sends back a stream of data as an electrical signal.
If you take all of those scan lines and put them together, you can get essentially the same kind of image you get on a black and white television screen.
One goal of the project is to keep the VIP cheap, and Wilson predicts the cost will be a few $1,000s per projectile, considered a bargain in this era of multi-million-dollar weapons and reconnaissance systems. Mark Levinson, CNN, reporting.
Coming up next, the week in business, and later, making health and nutrition fun topics for kids.
This is CNN Headline News.
This Christmas, Tandy Computers, some of the best-selling PC compatibles in America, are on sale at Radio Shack. 4 complete systems with color monitors start at just $599.90. All come with 24 unique home organizer programs. The more powerful RLX system is the perfect home office machine. And with hard drive, it's just $1199.95. The Tandy 1000 family of computers. So easy to use, we guarantee success.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
If the doctor a cough, you have to keep up with the latest medicine for your family. Like new Robitussin cough drops from the people whose cough medicine is recommended by more doctors and pharmacists.
Try this, it's new.
Robitussin cough drops have an active ingredient that speeds relief right to your cough to soothe and medicate.
Excuse me, try this. It's new.
New Robitussin cough drops. Cough drops from the cough experts.
More valuable than most, this umbrella. 50% of the Fortune 500 carry it for their insurance and investment needs. Open in case you want quality of service the traveler's way. You're better off under the umbrella.
Read Dianetics, America's #1 self-help bestseller. It's the owner's manual for the human mind. Get your copy today at Walden Books.
Now, how'd you like to make a bet? If you like living it up in places like Atlantic City and Las Vegas, I bet this Players Club card will save you big. In places like the Sands, Atlantic City, and the Riviera, Las Vegas, up to 60% less on hotel rooms, 50% less for shows, and always 25% less for meals and drinks. So call Players Club now. Players Club, it's a sure thing. New members get 2 free nights in Las Vegas or Atlantic City when the club books their flights. Call toll-free now.
Marlboro, Marathi, and Merit cigarettes won't be on sale in Italy for the next month. The Italian government is punishing Philip Morris, producer of the brands, for letting the cigarettes fall into the hands of smugglers. Last month, officials found 8 tons of contraband cigarettes in the northern coastal city of Ravenna. Under Italian law, any discovery of more than 5 tons of smuggled cigarettes is punished with a ban. Retail sales didn't raise any eyebrows last month, but one retailer managed to smile anyway. Jim Dexter has that and the rest of this week's business news.
It wasn't quite what you'd call a miracle on 34th Street, but as far as Macy's is concerned, it was close enough. The financially troubled department store got an early Christmas gift from its creditors who eased up on their terms. This is a nervous holiday season for many retailers. November sales rose just 0.3%, less than the rate of inflation. Why aren't shoppers decking the malls? Experts say they're worried about their financial future.
Number one in consumers' minds is whether they're going to lose their job or not.
Take newspaper employees, for instance. Workers at the Dallas Times-Herald found their own story on page 1 when the 112-year-old newspaper went out of business.
Anytime that a community loses a voice as important to it as the Times-Herald, that it's not a happy day.
The publisher of the New York Daily News suggested that paper may follow suit if it doesn't get tax concessions from city officials. It was a bad week all over for the communications industry. The sky was falling for Orion Pictures, which filed for Chapter 11 protection. It will be up to the bankruptcy court to decide whether the Orion story has a happy ending.